Hey everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Now today we're going to be once again talking about the Nintendo Switch 2, as a credible leaker has leaked lots of information and lots of new details about the console. Earlier this week we've seen lots of photos and images leak of the system early. This has mainly come from people like accessory makers, that sort of thing, but today we have a credible leaker coming from Reddit. They go under the name NextHandheld, and they've shared a lot of details about the system. Now you might be thinking, why is this more legitimate than anything else that we hear? Anyone could make a post on Reddit. Well, news publication The Verge have actually got in contact with the leaker, and they've seen physical photos of the Switch 2. Now, these photos aren't going to be released online, at least not yet. They're not going to be leaked out because there's probably a massive lawsuit there, and there's probably lots of things going on behind the scenes, and that, they can't release the photos, but they can verify it and believe that it is true and believe it's more believable. This news comes from Go Nintendo. Go check them out in the description below, but here's what they had to say in their post summarising what The Verge had to say. Nintendo Switch 2 dock features the same logo as the Switch, but with a number 2 alongside it. This obviously tells us that the Switch 2 is going to be called the Switch 2. There's no new ports on the dock, so that implies that we're only getting USB-C, obviously for power, as well as USB-A for input, as well as HDMI. Yeah, I don't really know what other kind of ports you could add to the Switch, so this is perfectly fine. The Joy-Con rail section contains no rail and is instead a long, rounded, hollow area. This makes sense because the leaks we have actually seen recently are like these rounded off Joy-Cons with magnetic-like connections, so that's interesting to see that the Joy-Cons don't slide on anymore. It'll also be interesting to see if the original Joy-Cons work with this new Switch. This area has a 13-pin connector that sticks out and can be slotted into the Joy-Con. Now, does this mean that the original Joy-Cons can still work with the original pin set that they actually use, or do they just have like a pin connector at the side where it like magnetically clicks on for these new Joy-Cons? We don't really know this at all yet. We don't really know what's going on with terms of like Joy-Con connectivity yet. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see. Physical magnetic click when you attach the Joy-Con. Probably similar to what we already see on the original. Much larger button on the controller that is physically connected to the magnet. Yeah, we've seen this in the leaks, in the photo leaks. A huge large button at the back of the Joy-Con. You press the button at the back to release the Joy-Con, same as the original. Once again, it claimed the Joy-Con will use magnetic Hall effect thumbsticks. This is great. It's something that Nintendo should have done from the get-go, because then we don't have things like stick drift. I mean, stick drift can still happen, but it's not as likely to happen if you have those magnetic Hall effect thumbsticks. There's a U-shaped rail on the kickstand. We've seen that in some leaks where like the kickstand is like a thing that pops out, kind of similar to the Switch OLED, but it's like curved out. It's like carved out the middle part, and it's like curved as like a big U shape. So that's interesting to see. The dock has big feet around the back. That probably makes it more stable. I mean, the first Switch dock, yeah, I thought that was quite stable, but yeah, some more stability with the Switch dock would be great. The feet are positioned so it could be held horizontally without blocking a set of vents. That's interesting to see that you can like slide it in that way, horizontally. I don't know if that would be as ergonomic as putting it in just straight down into the dock. We'll have to see. The Switch dock is rated for 60 watts, while the Switch 2 is rated for 45, so we can have a higher amount of watts, which means a more powerful system, more graphically intense games. Maybe that will affect battery life. We'll have to see on that. As the original Switch here had a 39 watt charger for docked and handheld, and handheld it was up to 18 watts. I'm not really sure about the whole watt situation. Obviously, the more watts we have, the more power that the console gets. That also means the battery needs to be bigger as well. It's going to launch in a dark grey and also a white model. Yeah, I feel like that's probably pretty likely. That's perfectly fine, I think. Obviously, the first Switch had two models, the Switch with the neon Joy-Cons and the grey, so that makes sense to do two models. This is where I start to not believe the leak. This is where it's saying one model is themed after a Switch 2 game. Yeah, I don't believe that. Nintendo has never really done special editions, because this is what I'm assuming this is, like, it's like a Mario system. They never really do special editions that early into the life cycle. They usually just bring out the console and then a year or two after then start doing special editions, so I don't believe that's the thing. I don't believe one of the models is going to be modelled after a Switch 2 game. I don't see that. Another confirmation is a second USB-C port at the top of the Switch 2. That would be cool for tabletop mode. So you could charge it while it's in that tabletop mode. That does make sense. But yeah, lots of all these leaks, they seem to all be linking together. They all seem to have the same ideas. The photos, they all add up. Everybody is saying the exact same thing about the Nintendo Switch 2, which makes this more believable. All seems to be very, very similar. Everybody's saying the same thing. Everybody's saying the same thing about the Joy-Con. So I understand, and I feel like it is going to be, some of this is actually pretty true. Where I start to not believe this leak is in some areas like the name. I really don't think they're going to go with Nintendo Switch 2. That just seems way too obvious, and I don't feel like it's like Nintendo for them to just call it Nintendo Switch 2. I don't see that at all. I also don't see them launching a new console with a special edition or one themed around a game. I just don't see them doing that straight from the get-go. They don't really do that. Console companies don't really do that. They focus on just getting the system out, getting it in people's hands, just having a basic version of it, and then, you know, about a year or so down the line, then they'll bring out a special edition, you know, to try and get some more sales. So yeah, I do believe it is true in some areas, but in others I don't know. I'm not really sure. Yeah, some areas I don't feel like, you know, this is actually what's going to happen. But yeah, you have to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, everybody. When do you think we will see the Switch 2 be revealed? Are you excited for the Switch 2? Do you think this is real? I feel like the Joy-Cons, I feel like that's pretty much real. Everybody's been saying it's going to have magnetic Joy-Cons. Everybody's saying it's going to have the larger buttons and all the extra features. So yeah, all of that seems to be true. I just don't know about the name. I don't know about the special edition Switch. That seems a little bit weird to me. Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you are doing so. Thank you very, very much for watching, and I'll see you in another video.